Welcome to What's the Vibe with Katie and Amy, where we get together weekly and talk about whatever we want, whatever our vibe is, murder, heroes, trauma. What else have we talked about, Katie?
Just laughing, I think, is probably one of the biggest things.
Thanks for doing this with me every week. Otherwise, I would have definitely just stayed in bed looking like a mole rat.
Thanks for the 3 fans that we had that encouraged us to start doing it again every week.
I did this for you. I put on earrings for you.
You 3 are our reason to keep going.
Comment below that you were back this week, please.
Missed you all.
What do you got? Any vibes that you've been feeling this week?
Feeling a very frustrated vibe this week, Amy.
I think I know what you're going to tell me, and I don't know about it, so I can't wait.
Okay. Back many seasons ago on These Nuts podcast, I don't know if you remember that podcast.
I loved it.
It
had a similar vibe.
Oh,
I said these nuts had a similar vibe.
They did. It was very close to our vibe. They were almost copying us. But back then, I told a story about a real life case about a man named Alex Murdaugh out of South Carolina who had just an abnormal amount of connections to death.
Yeah. Oh, I remember Alex Murdaugh.
Yeah. But he went to trial and was found guilty of murdering his wife and his youngest son. And just the other day on Wednesday, May 13th, 2026, the double murder conviction was overturned.
Katie, why?
Amy, because of a court clerk named Becky.
My God, Becky. Get your shit together.
Seriously. No, Becky Hill, she is accused of wrongfully influencing the jury. So she was a court clerk and she was kind of overseeing the jury and some of the aspects of the trial. And while she was around the jury, she would make comments about him being guilty, about how they need to make a quick decision about whether or not he's guilty.
Real?
I swear. She told them to watch his body language and not to be fooled by the things that he was saying. And she even tried to write and publish a book.
This bitch.
So because of her actions, he now has to be retried. And who knows what could possibly be thrown out or like even forgotten. Like, you remember the depths that they went into during the trial about like his car's in reverse, his phone screen turned on, his car's in drive, like all of that crazy stuff. Now they're going to have to redo it.
Oh my God. Okay, this is why this is a job I could never apply for, because I would definitely be like, we got to fry this mofo. Like, what? But she is a trained clerk of the courts.
She is. Yes, she knew better. And she has actually been punished. She's pled guilty to, I don't even remember the different things. But, one of the things she also did was she showed graphic crime scene photos to some members of the media. How guilty did she think?
Hell?
Right. You really didn't want justice that bad if you're out here tampering with all this stuff.
Wow.
So I was surprised to read, though, that Buster, his last remaining family member, who's still alive, even he is mad that the convictions were overturned because he doesn't want to go through another trial.
I bet. Yeah. Oh my God, that giant ginger. I don't feel sorry for him either.
Me either.
Follow-up. Oh, he's still in prison though, right?
He is. So he is currently serving, I think, a 40-year sentence for some of the other financial crimes. So he is not going to get out of jail just because it was overturned. But it's like a matter of justice to me. Like, we know this man did it.
Yeah. Wasn't he an attorney?
He was.
So I'm just picturing him like he's got nothing but time. So I'm sure he's wanting these things overturned. So he's probably tickled like a pig in shit or whatever that expression is.
I heard that one before, but we'll go with it.
There's something like
I trust you.
I was just trying to think of something real Southern because 'cause they're from the South,
They
and
are.
they seem so country to me as I sit
I
in my car at the Tractor Supply of my small town. I got a lot of nerve. I got a lot of nerve.
Hey, you didn't murder your spouse and your child, so
No.
you
I
have as
draw
much
the
nerve as
line
you
at
want.
I I draw the line at child. Like, I understand maybe the occasional, "Oops,"
Oops.
but your
Whoops.
child? Uh-uh.
Yeah, that's I can't believe it. So I'm intrigued to see if they will convict him again.
I think they will, but he's probably just gonna enjoy the change of scenery. He'd probably get bored in prison, so now
Oh
he gets to
yeah.
go back to the courtroom, and he gets to I've never been to prison, this is all just speculation.
Thank you for clearing that up because I was wondering there for a
Yeah,
quick second.
yeah.
You were just so quick to jump into it.
Like, I bet he's excited to get in the car and go to the courthouse.
Probably like just see other people.
Yeah, be back on TV. He seems like a narcissist,
Oh, 1,000%.
so he's gonna eat it. He's gonna be watching himself later that night and probably having a cell party. "Everybody come by my crib and we'll watch me on TV."
He already has it too good as it is in prison.
Yeah. Oh, I would love to
Ugh.
know that. Like, is Buster keeping money on his book so he can get all the ho-hos he dreams of? Oh, let's see if he's fatter this time.
Oh, okay, that's a good point. I will say that I read that him and Buster really haven't been in a whole lot of contact.
Okay.
So,
I should write him a letter.
oh, you should.
What? What's
Seriously,
the
if you're
vibe?
bored, if you have access to YouTube, go check out our latest episode.
Tell me what did we get wrong on your story?
Give us the exclusive.
Can't hurt.
Um, That's really the only thing I had for this week. I was in disbelief when I saw
I
that.
can I did see, like, I'm telling you, a millisecond of it, but this week I haven't really been on the Yahoo News or Google or anything. I get all my late breaking news from TikTok.
I knew it.
Yeah, that's how I learn everything.
I mean, it's a good place, I think. You learn a lot
Thank
more
you.
than you know what I learned from TikTok actually this week, I will tell you.
What?
You heard that several, I want to say, actually, I'm not going to guess. Several cruise ships were and employee, this is including Disney cruise ships, and 28 team members have been detained in relation to child trafficking.
Oh my God.
Like, how have we not seen that on the news?
Yeah, how have we not? Well, it's weird, it's scary. Well, and I don't and like how I would love to know more about that. You just get on the cruise ship with your kid, but you get off without one?
Right?
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's dark, Katie. That's a dark vibe.
Right, that was the only other thing that came to mind.
Oh, I was gonna tell you about my Mother's Day. It was good. Star took me to breakfast, and I was telling her, I said, last night before we decided to go to breakfast, I was like, okay, I'm gonna get like an omelet, maybe some dry toast. I'm gonna like really start my day with like a healthy breakfast. I got a skillet, I got a side of gravy.
Oh,
No, I did.
yeah. Hey, there's always tomorrow. Mother's Day, come on. You should not be doing that on Mother's Day, girl. That
I
is when you should be indulging.
I treat myself like it's Mother's Day every day when it comes to indulging.
Honestly, whatever keeps us going at this point, I feel like there is very little joy out in the world today.
I would be more joyful if I could eat like I do, but look like I was 16, like, just like
Oh, me too. I
but
think we would all be much more joyful. The world would be at peace.
that's why they invented GLP-1s, I'm telling you.
All
I got
right.
nothing new. You ready to tell me about your vibe?
Are you ready for the vibes this week?
Yes.
And the vibe is actually going to be cruise ships.
Okay.
The vibe is family. The vibe is conspiracy theories galore.
Love it.
And I believe for the third time in What's the Vibe history, the vibe is Amy.
What do you mean? Oh, another Amy?
Another Amy.
Okay, I think I know.
What do you think it is?
This is a story that I do want to know more about that I have been obsessed with for years. Amy Bradley?
Yes, queen. Yes. Okay. Before I go into Amy Bradley, I just want you to know that anytime I get like an idea of something that I want to share with you on the podcast, I have a list created.
Okay.
And I have 60 things on that list. It gets a little overwhelming to pick something. So this week it was just at random.
Okay.
So I landed on Amy Bradley, and I thought Amy probably knows a lot about this story. So I'm excited to see like what you know that maybe I don't, or what your theory is that happened to Amy.
Oh, okay.
So Amy Lynn Bradley was born May 12th, 1974. So she would have had a birthday 3 days ago and would be 52 years old. She was born in
Amy, that we're
Petersburg.
very similar age. We're very like
You,
she's a month older than me.
oh yeah, you are. She is, isn't she? I didn't even connect
Yeah.
that.
Yep. So this is how beautiful she would be today.
Exactly. So she was born to her mom, Iva, and her dad, Ron. And she had a younger brother named Brad. And let me just time out for a second because I have some thoughts on how Iva and Ron went about naming their son.
Okay.
It's giving lazy. Because what do you mean his name is Brad Bradley?
Okay, let's do a quick Google search because I honestly think he has a different first name and he goes by Brad.
Okay, I'll let that go. But also, that's weird.
It is weird. Hang on, I'm going to find out.
Oh, okay, thank you. Thank you. Putting this story together. And I was like halfway through and I was like, wait a second. This man's name is Brad Bradley.
Yeah, I think there's a documentary out. And at the time that went out, I saw him on a video somewhere say his real name and like Brad is a nickname.
Okay, straight. Okay.
Don't quote me though, I'm looking.
If that's the case, I'll let it go. But if his real name is Brad, then his parents, why?
Ronald Bradley Jr. That's still lazy as fuck.
You
Because
gave him the same name.
named him after the dad so that he had to go by Brad.
Wrong. Like they
Gosh,
could have done better.
Yes, but I have heard of people like named Taylor, like say my name is Taylor Smith and I marry a guy named Ron Taylor, then your name is Taylor Taylor.
Okay, I have heard that.
It happens, but it's horrible.
It is. It was just
I'm
like,
Amy.
yeah.
Katie.
Make that point for a minute. Okay, I know the story is not about Brad, but come on.
A tangent.
Thank you.
It's giving lazy.
It's giving, it was.
It was.
Okay, back to Amy. So Amy, as a young adult, she attended Longwood University, which was also in Virginia. She went with a full basketball scholarship and graduated with a degree in sports psychology in December of 1996. So she's athletic. She was a lifeguard at one point and noted to be a strong swimmer. She was described by her friends as warm, welcoming, and full of joy.
Katie, hang on a sec. That's so funny because my story has like a description of the person too, and they're always like warm, welcoming, full of joy. So literally on the drive up here to do the podcast, I was like, I would want my friends to describe me as like, she was superstitious. She was suspicious. She was.
You don't want to be full of joy and warm and welcoming.
No, she liked like 4 people. Like, be honest if I go missing, okay?
I'll do that. Please don't go missing, though.
I won't. No, hell no.
Okay.
I'm always at home. It's fine.
Perfect. You're safe there.
Exactly.
About 18 months after Amy graduates from college, her dad, who is an insurance executive, wins an all expenses paid cruise from his employer. So he takes Brad, Amy, and his wife, Iva, and they go on the cruise.
Gosh, that's already suspicious.
You think so?
I've won a cruise from an employer before, but it's just with her going missing, it makes it seem suspicious.
It does. Yeah, that's fair. So you've been on a cruise before.
One time, yes.
Time,
I
perfect.
loved
I
it.
have never been.
I don't know if I would go again with all the bullshit that I'm hearing now, but I loved it when I went.
Well, maybe you can give me an insight on some of the things that may or may not have happened.
Okay, I'll try.
So they are on the Royal Caribbean and they're headed for this place that I'm going to try to say. I think it's Curacao.
That sounds right.
Okay, we're going to go with it. It's not Curacao.
Curacao. Curacao. Curacao. Curacao.
Curacao.
Okay.
And Amy at first I read that she wasn't even sure she wanted to go on this trip because she was nervous about the big giant ship. She was scared of heights and the open ocean, which to be honest, same girl.
Fair. Very fair.
But she does. On March 21st, 1998, her and her family board the ship. And they spend about 2 days doing activities, traveling, going to dinners, all this stuff. March 23rd, 2 days into their cruise, Amy and Brad decide to stay up late, go to a disco party. And the disco party is on the 9th floor. They are staying on the 8th floor.
Okay.
At this disco party, they are seen drinking and dancing. And Amy is even seen hanging out with one of the band members that goes by the name Yellow. Yellow
That's
is
dumb.
said to have left around 1-8. I have no idea what time green and red and blue all left.
I know yellow.
Just yellow.
I don't like it.
No. Well, his first name is Alistair, and I'm going to be honest, I don't know if I like that name any better.
I like it a little better.
Okay.
It's a name.
Better than Brad Bradley.
Poor Brad. Thanks for watching, Brad Bradley.
Comment below, Brad Bradley. A few hours of drinking and dancing and hanging out. Brad goes up to his room, and a key card records him entering at 3:35 a.m. Now, Amy had a key card, and it shows her entering 5 minutes later. So that basically they go up together. I have never been on a cruise, but does each member of the cabin or whatever, do they all get key cards?
My cruise was in the early 2000s. And I do remember, and so I went, like I said, we like hit bonus or we hit our yearly goal. So the office I worked for at the time took the whole office and a guest on this cruise. Because of their religion, I was required, and unmarried, I was single lady. I was required to take a female companion, which was fine. I took my friend Jocelyn, and we did both have key cards. She ended up getting sick the second day at sea and hardly left the room. It was terrible.
Aw, that's sad.
Yeah, so I was going to the islands by myself, which now looking back, that's Katie, I was in my mid to late 20s. What the hell was I doing? As I was getting off, like there was just the island people were like vultures. Like, "Oh, come here, I'll sell you that." We went to Haiti.
Off by yourself.
I did. I did.
Dang.
I bought perfume in Cozumel. I bought like little trinkets in Haiti. I was going to all the shops because my friend was dying in the room. She was so sick. We did go to the nightclub one night and they are really fun. Like the energy's so fun. But when we got back from the cruise and it was a 7-day cruise, she went immediately to the hospital and was admitted with C. diff. She was
Ow.
really, really sick.
Dang.
Oh, tried to ruin my cruise.
And you made it back. I know you are a strong, independent woman, but I would not have gotten off the cruise by myself and explored foreign countries alone.
I wouldn't
It would have,
today.
yeah, I couldn't have.
I wouldn't today. Nope.
So I just wasn't sure if cruises were like a hotel. Like with a hotel, you usually get like 2 key cards, no matter how many
Mhm.
people are staying, and that's it. Or if everybody really did have their own key card. I was kind of intrigued by that.
Or if they were sharing, but since mom and dad were in bed, were they all in the same room?
They were.
Okay. Maybe I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised if they all got their own, though.
Okay. Okay. Well, maybe that's not suspicious then.
Because 'Cause you're coming and going, and there's so much to do on the ship. They're huge. It's like a exploding city.
That's crazy. It would
Mhm.
be cool to experience one. Um, so after they get back up to the room, Brad says that him and Amy sat on the balcony and talked for a little while before he decided to go to bed. Now, the sleeping arrangements were Ron and Iva in the primary bed, and then Amy and Brad were going to share the pull-out sofa.
Okay.
So Brad went to sleep on the pull-out sofa. He said Amy stayed up later. The next morning, Ron wakes up. It's about 5:30 in the morning, and he says he can see Amy from like the hips down, see her legs on the balcony, asleep in one of the lounge chairs. Brad was asleep on the pullout, and Iva was still in bed. So Ron goes back to sleep. Now he wakes up a half an hour later, and Amy and her cigarettes are gone, but I've read that her shoes were still there. So he thought that was kind of weird because he didn't think Amy would really leave the room without telling anybody. So he leaves the room and starts looking for her in like the common areas of the ship. And you said a cruise ship is pretty big, so I imagine that would take him a while.
Yeah. I think mine was Royal Caribbean too. I know they have different ships, but I mean, you already said 8 and 9 floors.
Right.
So,
Well, it said that he got back to the room 30 minutes later. So I just feel like that's not enough time to be looking for her. Maybe I'm wrong.
I don't think you can cover it in 30 minutes.
Right.
Huh.
But he gets back at 6:30 and he can't find her, so he wakes up Iva and Brad and says like we got to start looking for Amy. Like I don't know where she is.
Immediate panic seems weird.
Immediate panic. Like she's 23 years old.
Yeah.
I don't
I mean, he knows his daughter, but to me, if my 20 son, and I have 20 something, I have a 23-year-old son. There's plenty of times I
yeah.
don't know where the hell he is.
Right. And
They're grown.
if she went down to like get an orange juice or something, like
Meet
she's a
up
grown
with the guy
woman.
she met next door. Like,
Yes.
calm down.
Well, they immediately report her disappearance to the crew of the cruise ship, and they beg multiple people to make an announcement before the cruise passengers start departing for the day because they're docking. People are going to go out and, explore, hopefully with somebody else.
Yeah. Not Amy's. Us Amy's just be wild.
They would just be wild. And the The front desk of the cruise ship, or the purser's office is what it's called, said it's too early to make an announcement. And so they refuse. It's not until almost 8 a.m. Most of the passengers have, what do they call that? Not boarding, deboarding.
I
They've
don't
left
know.
the ship. They've left the ship. They're
Yeah.
gone.
Yeah. Departed? What would you call that?
Departed the ship? Okay, I like that better. Thank you. And finally, the crew agrees to make an announcement. They say, Amy Bradley, please come to the purser's desk. Several hours go by, no sign of Amy. At about 12:15, the crew of the ship themselves start searching for Amy. They spend about 45 minutes, but they can't find her.
That's still not enough time.
Thank you.
No way.
And at this point, well, at the time, like when Ron woke up, they were like getting closer to land or to docking. So they were about 10 miles from shore. The Dutch Coast Guard conducted a 4-day search for Amy. They used multiple helicopters and a radar plane. And Royal Caribbean chartered a boat themselves to continue looking for her. Of course, I think most people know, but Amy to this day has not been found. Unless it's you, Amy Bradley. Is that you?
No.
No.
Darn it.
Initially, authorities say she must have fallen overboard or committed suicide. But Amy is a trained lifeguard. She's a good swimmer. But also, this is the ocean. This isn't a pool, so much different. Several witnesses did say they saw Amy that morning with Yellow between 5:30 and 6, and he was giving her a drink that contained a dark liquid.
What?
That's all I could find on that.
Multiple people saw him. Wow.
Yes. So I mean, that was really it at the time. They couldn't find her. I mean, the cruise continued, it ended, and the family had to go home. Like, I can't imagine being on a cruise ship and returning without one of your family members.
Oh my god. The
Like,
nightmare. Because it's like, if somebody gets lost at Target, you wanna stay in that area, but on a cruise ship, what is the area? The
what is
boat
the
itself?
area?
The where you were? Because if I remember correctly, yes, they were not at land yet, but in theory, a strong swimmer could have made it from the ship to land. So do you
I would
stay
think
at
so.
Killicow or whatever it was called, Carousel? I forget.
Carousel. Kill a cat.
But yeah, that's crazy.
So, over the past 30 years, there have been several sightings or alleged sightings of Amy. About a month after the cruise, Ron and Brad travel back to Curacao to search for Amy. And they're approached by a cab driver who says that that they saw Amy while the ship was docking and that she was leaving the ship. He said he could remember her eyes and that since then he's thought he had seen Amy throughout the island different times, but the police
Ugh.
could never confirm that it was her. In August of 1998, 4 months later, 2 scuba divers alleged that they saw a woman at a popular diving beach that resembled Amy. She was in the presence of 2 aggressive men, one of them they believed to be Yellow.
Oh my god.
And they said they were having a conversation in English. I guess the primary language there is Dutch. And once this mystery woman could hear them speaking English, she started walking over to them and acting like she wanted to have a conversation with them. But the 2 men, aggressive men that she was with, stopped her. And she just kept making eye contact with them from a distance.
That's why I got
I guess it wasn't too much distance because they were about 2 feet away from her. They were able you decide if that's a lot of distance or not.
Oh my god, this is the way you delivered that line.
Sorry, it was not intentional. I'm just not.
I guess it wasn't too much of a distance. So it's basically like they're just standing next to each other. Okay.
She's in line behind this.
I do think Yellow's a bad guy. I don't know.
Yeah, Yellow does seem to be very suspicious.
I don't know if he has anything to do with maybe Amy's disappearance, but I do think he's probably a sex trafficker and just a bad person.
I could see that, yes.
Uh,
So these 2 divers that were close but far away from Amy, they were actually, of the alleged Amy, they were able to describe some tattoos and said that she did resemble Amy Bradley from America's Most Wanted. In January of 1999, a U.S. Navy officer alleged that he met a woman in a brothel in Curacao who claimed to be Amy Bradley. She allegedly approached him and told him that she was being held against her will, that she was on a cruise and got off to find drugs but has been since trapped. Amy, it took this Navy officer 3 years to come forward with this information because he was worried about his military career. So he had to wait until he retired because he was in a brothel.
oh my god. I don't like him.
I don't either. So once the FBI got word of his sighting or interaction with her, they wanted to investigate these claims. But by then, the brothel had burned down.
Suspicious too.
Seriously.
That's suspicious.
In the fall of 1999, Iva and Ron receive an email from a man named Frank Jones. Frank says he is a former U.S. Army Special Forces officer. And he believes he has seen Amy being held against her will by heavily armed men in a house surrounded by barbed wire.
Jesus.
He describes her accurately. He describes her tattoos. He even tells Iva and Ron that he knows the lullaby that Iva used to sing to Amy when she was a baby.
Oh,
Seems pretty legit.
that does. That does.
He says he is willing to do a search and rescue operation with a team of men if they agree. And they do. They want their daughter back.
Of course.
So Ron and Iva and the National Missing Children's Organization sets up a fund totaling $210,000 for Frank and his team to go and rescue Amy.
Okay.
So they pay him, and that's the last they hear of Frank. Frank is a con man who made the story up.
Oh, did he know that freaking song?
Thank you. I wondered that same thing, unless it was just like a common lullaby and he got lucky by guessing.
Yeah, well, she was singing Rockabye Baby.
For real, though.
Well, speaking of Rockabye Baby, Katie, baby, I'll be singing that this weekend.
Yes.
I'll text you later. Jasmine has a doctor's appointment at 3 today, so I'll find out if he's more dilated or what's going on. I'm ready for this baby.
I'm excited.
I like to sing You Are My Sunshine.
I used to sing to my little sister when she was always crying when she was little. Frank, they did end up charging Frank for defrauding the Bradley family, and he received 5 years in prison.
Wow, I think I could do 5 years in prison for $200,000.
You think so?
Yeah, I'd do it.
I think I could too, to be honest.
I love to sleep. I'd start reading. I'd stay out of the way.
I know better than that. You would make your cellmate read to you.
A young, smart cellmate. And I'll be like, read me this book.
That's so true for me. You
Good
said I
point.
would take up reading. Come on, girl.
I don't like to read.
There were a couple more sightings of two more sightings of Amy since then. In April of 2003, a woman or a witness.
I muted myself. I'm such a boomer. Sorry about that.
In April of 2003, reports seeing a woman matching Amy's description in San Francisco. She was watching a street musician with two suspicious-looking men, and this witness recognized her as Amy and began to approach them. The men took this woman and they ran.
I don't know. This same story's getting kind of old.
Right.
Like, I just feel like people just want to be a part of it.
I know. Yeah, that is just like Becky Hill wants to be a part of the Murdaugh.
Yes. Yeah.
One more time in March of 2005, another woman is alleged to have seen Amy at a department store bathroom in Barbados. She said that this woman told her she was from West Virginia and that her name was Amy. In November of 2005, Ron and Iva appear on the Dr. Phil show, which...
That's a whole nother topic.
Yeah. Yeah. During the show, they shared that they have received I believe it was an anonymous email with several photos of a woman who... In the picture, it looks like a sex trafficking victim. She's on a bed. She's minimally dressed. And the woman in the photo is known as Jazz. Have you ever seen a picture of Jazz, Amy?
Yes. Yeah. I've actually in the past spent quite a bit of time staring at it and then comparing it to young Amy and then staring at it again. I mean, it's a compelling photo.
It's very compelling. When I first saw it, I was like, oh yeah, that's definitely her. As I've done more research, I'm not as sure.
I'm not as sure either. What do mom and dad think? Do they think for sure it's her?
I don't know that they believe the photo is her or not, but they do believe she was trafficked.
Because I feel like I would look at a photo, even if I hadn't seen my child in a long time, I could look at a photo and say for certain if it's them or not. So that's why I was just curious what the parents thought. But to me, it's compelling, but I'm not convinced.
Same. The photo was not authenticated by the FBI, so we don't know if it was doctored in any way or anything like that. In March 24th, 2010, 12 days to the date of her 12 years to the day of her disappearance, Amy was declared legally dead. I'm kind of intrigued by that because her parents are very, very much still actively searching for her. So I don't understand why they would have her declared dead.
Yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that, but what would be the purpose of that if you're still convinced she's alive? It's
Right.
not like she was a billionaire businesswoman and they want to declare her dead to get, to obtain some of those assets or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, what is the point?
It just seemed weird to me.
Yeah, I'll have to look into that.
Um, so some popular conspiracy theories out there, and there are hundreds. There are theories that she was kidnapped and sold into sex trafficking. There was a claim that a waiter was involved with her disappearance from the ship. I guess he had passed a note to her family that said she could go drinking with his family or with him once they reached the shore. Some people say that maybe she was murdered and thrown overboard.
Mm.
A lot of people, especially on Reddit, like I've been like deep diving into Reddit lately, they wholeheartedly believe that her parents just will not accept the fact that she went overboard, and they don't think that she was trafficked in any way, that it was just an accident basically. Some people say that when her dad woke up at 5:30 in the morning, or not 5:30, at 6 in the morning, that what woke him up could have been her screaming when she fell overboard.
Could have been.
Something else I found interesting was somebody made a point that how did Iva not wake when Ron got up to look for Amy the first time and then the second time, or like when they were entering the room in the middle of the night? Again, I've never been on a cruise, but I imagine they're like a hotel room. I've seen
Yeah.
pictures.
Yeah.
Like,
It's like walking into somebody's bedroom. I'm going to wake up.
right.
And you said the mother didn't wake up.
Yeah.
See, something happens to you immediately after you give birth, which Iva has given birth. And that is you wake up to shit you never woke up to before. So that is suspicious. Me either.
There's tons and tons and tons of more theories out there, but a recent update. So, as of April 2026, the FBI has increased the reward from $25,000 to $100,000 for any information that leads to finding Amy or the arrest of a person responsible.
Okay. Okay. I was getting ready to say they declared her dead. Why are we increasing the reward? But yes, you want closure.
Sure. The family is also offering $250,000 reward. Um, Her case is very widely known. Like I said, it was on America's Most Wanted. It's been on Unsolved Mysteries. It's been on a TV show called Disappeared. Podcasts have done episodes. In July of last year, 2025, Netflix released a 3-part series titled Amy Bradley is Missing. Have you watched that?
I did. I think I must have watched it when it first came out because it's kind of one because I watch so many documentaries, it's hard for me to catalog them in my brain. But I do remember watching that and watching her brother give interviews and speak on it. I can picture him in my head so perfectly. And I don't mean to be rude, but he kind of looks like Ellen.
He does.
He looks like Ellen. God
He
love him.
so does.
I look like a potato, so it's fine. We can all look like something.
1 month ago, the family's private investigator got in contact with the FBI. It is said that they may have identified a trafficking ring who could be responsible for Amy's disappearance, as well as two individuals that, like two specific individuals that they think are related to her case. They even believe that she may have given birth after her disappearance. Like we kind of all know, her parents are still alive. They're in their 70s and live in Virginia. They've kept all of her belongings exactly the same. Her
Wow.
car from the 90s is gassed up and ready to go in the garage for if she gets home.
Wow.
What do
Amy
you
would
think happened to Amy?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you my theory, but first I have a question, like just to ponder.
Yeah.
So they took Amy in her 20s. She would be today 51 years old right now. What do they do with sex trafficking victims once they age out? Do they just let you go home or what happens?
I I don't know any true real life answers to that, but based on
Yeah.
some TV shows and things that I've read, I feel like they die.
Yeah.
They know too much.
Right, right. Yeah, that's so true. I mean, but that's not my theory. Something that you didn't really touch on, Katie, and I'm sure you stumbled upon this on your research, or maybe you didn't, was it is pretty well known that Amy was a member of the Rainbow Mafia,
Yeah.
meaning she was a lesbian, which her this is the 90s. Okay, I just want you to understand in the 1990s when I was in high school, there was one out boy who was a pariah at our school. There were other rumored gay people, and it was like they had a disease in the 1990s. It's disgusting. And her parents did not like this. So there was tension and turmoil in the family. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like you described Amy, she was fun, she was smart, she was all these great things and everybody's looking for her. They loved her, but they were not supportive of her lifestyle. It caused tension. And I think that depressed Amy a lot. It made her really sad. And probably part of the reason why she didn't want to go on the cruise. She was in a relationship, I believe, at the time and probably would have rather been at home with her significant other. And then she had been drinking that night. Alcohol is a depressant. So I think sadly, either accidentally or on purpose, she went into the water that night. That is my personal theory.
I love everything about that theory because I did, in fact, stumble upon that bit of information. I even found out that Amy's dad, at the time of her coming out, wrote a 3-page letter, like talking about basically how despicable it was.
Hmm. Yeah. Could you imagine
Um,
feeling like that from the people that are supposed to love you the most? That would be depressing.
it would be. It
That would be so
absolutely
depressing.
would be.
Hmm.
I probably would agree with you. Um, I don't At first when I saw that picture of Jazz, I was like, "Oh, definitely." And like all of the sightings, everything does line up to make it sound like she was trafficked.
Yeah. You're right. It does. It does.
But I don't I've also seen a lot of people say traffickers go after certain types of victims, and Amy did not fit that profile.
I didn't think so. I didn't think so.
No.
Listen, my gaydar is broken, okay? I cannot I don't have one. So, I remember in the 1990s when they were showing those pictures of Amy, not once did I think, "There's a lesbian," you know, but 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 2026 Amy can see that she is physically fit, and I'm not saying that as a stereotype, I'm just saying, right, traffickers are going after young, probably in their teens, she was in her 20s, she had short
Wow.
hair, God, I pray she wasn't trafficked because that'd probably be her worst. I mean, it's everybody's worst nightmare,
Yeah.
but, ugh, men are gross.
Men are gross.
And I know she was thinking
Literally.
that. So I think
Probably.
even when she was hanging out with Yellow, she was just partying. Like
Yeah,
she was
she
just
was.
having a buddy. She wasn't trying to hook up or start a relationship. And if I remember right from the documentary, he was married at the time.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I do think that might have been like he might have been working up to that. He might have had his eye on her after she was friendly and he thought this might be an easy catch, but I don't think it ever made it to that point because she was drunk, she was alone, she was depressed,
Yeah,
and she either jumped or she fell off that boat that night, sadly.
that is sad. And like if that is the case and her parents just aren't accepting it, like I don't like there's ways to keep her memory alive. This is not the way to do that if that's what happened to her.
I know, wouldn't it have been so much cooler if they would have started supporting, like, gay rights and making awareness and talking about how you should love your kids no matter what before it's too late, but
Right.
instead, they're stuck on this obsession of getting her back, and it's been 30 years.
Yeah.
So sad.
It's so sad. But that's the story of Amy Bradley. If anybody any of the vibers, is that what we're calling them?
Yes, the vibers.
If any of the vibers have a theory as to what happened to Amy, please comment below. Um, Maybe there's something that we don't know. Maybe there's something I missed. Tell me what
Yeah.
it was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Did you rewatch the documentary before you did this story?
I did not actually.
No. I was just curious because I watched an 8-part docu-series this week in preparation for my vibe.
Wow. Okay. Well, tell me, Amy, what is the vibe?
Well, it's a lot. It's a lot. This is one that I personally can't relate to. The vibe is stand by your man.
Oh,
The vibe the vibe is support that man. The vibe
oh,
is love. It's building, it's success, but it's also murder, revenge.
murder.
I love saying murder.
You know what you just reminded me of? I was still doing my amazing editing that I'm no longer doing. That would have been a perfect time for me to include that sound bite or whatever of that TikTok. That's your
Oh yeah.
is that your
Okay, Katie, I'm going to start at the event and then I'm gonna explain how we got there.
fun? Okay.
And tell me at what point when you're like, "Oh, I know this story," because it's kind of a classic too.
Nice.
Picture it, San Diego, California, 1989, in an expensive bedroom inside a mansion in one of the wealthiest neighborhoods. Two newlyweds are sound asleep. Outside before dawn, a car moves silently through the streets, lined with palm trees and beautiful yards. Driving that car is a woman who once lived in this world, a woman who believes she has been erased from her own life. She creeps into the house, she walks up the stairs, she opens the bedroom door, and 5 shots are fired. This is the story of Betty Broderick.
Hey, I know very little about Betty Broderick, but I have happened upon the story a couple of times. So please tell me about Betty Broderick.
Oh my gosh, I know I'm not supposed to be on her side, but I kind of am. After she goes into that bedroom in this mansion and fires those 5 shots, Katie, she does one more thing before she leaves the house. She rips the phone out of the wall and throws it down the hallway. There's no cell phones.
Right.
So as her husband lay dying, he now knows he has no way to call for help.
Okay. You're right. I'm kind of on her side.
Oh, it gets better. Betty Ann grew up in Brooklyn during the 1950s. She had a very strict Catholic family. They were like, "You grow up, you don't have boys calling this house, you don't act like a slut out in the streets. When you get older, you become a wife, you become a mother, and you take care of that home." That's what you did back then. So Betty bought into that. Like, she's like, "Okay, that's what I'm gonna do." And once again, her friends described her as funny, energetic, emotional, and romantic.
Of course.
Exactly. She wanted the ideal American family, like she had been taught to value over everything else. When she was in college, she met Dan Broderick. Dan was ambitious, polished, and intensely confident, the kind of man who seemed destined for success. They fell in love. They married in 1969. And at first, everything was perfect. Dan was going to be a doctor. So
That's a
he's
great
wrapping up
living.
medical. Yeah, that's going to make you some money, right?
Yeah.
So when they're married, he's wrapping up medical school. He's doing, what do they call those? Like rotations, like in the hospital and stuff. He's doing all this stuff that really requires a lot of time, energy, studying. And Dan always had to be the best. Meanwhile,
Why do
Betty
I
Ann, I'm
already hate Dan?
just getting started. I'm getting started on all the reasons why Dan is fucking problematic, okay?
Perfect. You're checking
So,
the boxes.
guess what Betty Ann's doing back at home? She's pregnant.
Of
Dan
course.
wants a family. Yeah, and they're Catholic, so of course. She's pregnant and her husband is in medical school making no money and gone all the time from early morning till late at night. So then she's also working, taking care of the house, and then this man will come home at 10 or 11 o'clock at night and be like, I'm hungry. And Betty Ann isn't like Amy Joe. Betty Ann's jumping
Way.
up. And she's got food ready, she's just waiting for her man to come home, and that's why I said, like, supporting this man. If he had stuff that needed to be done for school, like something retyped or needed help studying, she's doing that too. So she's a mother, she's his maid, she's the money maker, she's doing all of the things. Dan graduates from medical school and he comes to Betty Ann and he says, "You know what? This is not the vibe. This
What's
isn't the
what's
vibe."
not what's not the vibe? Medical school?
Yeah,
Being a
being a
doctor?
doctor. He's
Oh,
already a doctor. And
hmm.
he's like, just not feeling it. And she's like,
You
"Yeah." And Betty Ann's like, "You know what, baby? No problem. What are you feeling?" And he said, "I'm going to go to law school."
you just spent probably at minimum 8 years becoming
Mhm.
a doctor. At
Yeah.
minimum.
Yes.
And throughout that time, you were practicing as a doctor, maybe not
Mhm.
like a fellow or whatever, but you were practicing. Um, Now you don't like it and you want to spend another 8 years in school. Well, I do what?
Mhm. Well, while Betty Ann has more children and continues to support the family.
Anything for you.
Yes. So Dan gets accepted into Cornell Law School. He's obviously very smart and loves to go to school. So he is going to, I shut down my notes because I got so busy hating on Dan Broderick. So you got to keep in mind now Betty's had at least two daughters, is working, holding down the house, again, helping Dan study if he needs it, typing up his notes, being the perfect wife at all times. Oh, he would say, like when he was in law school, all the guys are meeting for drinks and it's just important that I be there. So
You know
Betty
what?
Ann is
It
like,
might be important for Betty Ann to have some time for herself.
no, she got none. And the whole time when they are together, they are a team. They are a unit. Yes, Dan's carrying the weight of all the studies and he's doing all the mingling, he's doing all the things because he's going to be one of the first, if not the first, medical doctor attorneys. And he's going to specialize in medical. I'm trying to make you like him. He's going to specialize in medical malpractice. And they are going to make a ton of money and he's going to repay Betty Ann for all her hard work and sacrifice. There were times when they were on food stamps, welfare. She's working multiple part-time jobs. If the kid gets sick, who's got to be there? Betty Ann, you know.
Sure. Yeah, he
But he's
recognizes that. That's kind of
yeah,
him.
he's letting her know all this effort is eventually going to pay off, Betty Ann. So it does. He graduates from law school. Katie, they get a mansion. It's beautiful. They have two more kids. They have two more sons. I also do want to tell you though that Betty Ann also gave birth to a fifth baby boy. He
Mhm.
lived 3 days and then passed.
Aw.
So you can imagine the trauma from that. But Dan's still at that time, still in law school. So they just got to trudge forward. She's got to grieve this loss. She's still got to make, everything happen financially. She's got to take care of Dan. So she's really been through it. And anytime that, she might call mom and dad, they're just like, yeah, that's what you do. Suck it up, buttercup. You keep your man happy and behave yourself and you don't complain and you just do it. And that had been drilled into her head. And that's truly what she felt in her heart and believed. So after Dan graduates, sorry, I'm kind of skipping around.
Okay.
He does join forces with another, like a law firm. He becomes a partner, but then he eventually begins his own firm and it is wildly successful. That's why they're having all these nice things now. These four kids, they're in private school. They all have the nicest clothing. She's wearing $8,000 outfits. This is how much money they have. Finally, Katie, her hard work has paid off.
Okay. Okay.
That's the end. Isn't that great? No, just kidding.
I love that. Happily ever after, Betty. Forget about those
Yeah.
gunshots in the beginning.
Yeah, forget about that. And I didn't mention, but when Dan and Betty met, obviously, she's like 19, 18, 19. He's 21, 22, 23. She's blonde, blue-eyed. She's 5'10". She's like a gorgeous model. Now she's had his four children. She's still a pretty lady, don't get me wrong, but it's physically changes your body and who you are. You're a mother now. but they're happy. She's hosting amazing parties. All of his law friends are there. She's mingling with the richest people, and everybody says she's the best. Like the way she decorates, the way she throws a party, their life could not be better.
Okay, that's great.
Yes, Dan, who's not a self centered narcissist at all, hires a young secretary named Linda Kolkina. And guess what? Linda is in her mid-20s and she's tall, she's blonde, she's blue-eyed. She actually looks very much like a young Betty Ann.
Oh,
Yeah. And guess what Dan does? He starts spending a lot more time at the office.
he's a
And
busy man.
yeah, yeah. But Betty is no dummy. She picks up on this like almost immediately. She is suspicious. And one night, Dan and Betty are at a party of some sort, and she walks up behind Dan and she overhears him tell a colleague, "She's just so beautiful." And so when they're alone, Betty says, "Who were you talking about, Dan?" And he tells her, "Oh, my colleague has a crush on Linda at the office, and I was just like humoring him."
No,
No, no,
no,
no
my
woman's
my
fallen for it.
husband better never humor me in such a way.
Exactly, exactly, and that's what Betty Ann said. So she goes by the office to check this young woman out, and yeah, there she is in all her youth and beauty and running the office. So Betty tells Dan, "Get rid of that bitch. You fire that bitch."
I think I mean, he should respect her.
Yeah,
Betty
that
Ann.
she saw the red flags that were about to be flying and she tried to end it. So she gives it like about a month and she calls the office, and this is before caller ID, okay? This is the 80s. So Betty Ann calls the office and she says, "May I speak to Linda Kokina?" And they say, "Hold on a minute." And Linda gets on the phone. "Hello." Betty just hangs up. So Dan comes home that night and she said, "I told you to get rid of her or we were done." And he said, "I'm not. You're being crazy. She's a great worker. You're acting like a crazy, jealous psycho. Knock your shit off." Katie, he gaslights her with this bullshit for like 2 years.
Oh, years?
Yes.
Oh my
She's just
gosh.
he's, where is he? He's staying out late. Da, da, da. I want you to remember that Dan is a lawyer.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and Betty is a housewife. She is a housewife because she supported this man through 2 degrees. Eventually, Dan comes home one day and says, I need to clear my head. So I'm
Go
just
for a walk.
he grabs his shit. He grabs his clothes and leaves. And even after he leaves, he is still not honest with Betty Ann. He keeps telling her, just things have changed. I need my space. We're gonna hopefully work it out. So she is clinging to this.
Betty, come on, you already knew.
Yeah. And then behind the scenes, Dan, because he's an attorney, he knows, okay, this is our official separation date. Now, from
Mm.
this date forward, any money I make is mine. I can start like divvying up the assets. I can make payments on this. And then, like, say, if I make a large payment on this house, then that'll come out of our marital assets. Like, I don't even understand all this shit, but Dan does. And they have a lot of money and a lot of stuff. He buys her another house for her to take the kids to. He had said, "I'm gonna move in there too, just not yet. And we're gonna sell our mansion." When Betty Ann takes the kids there, it's covered with rats. There are rats everywhere.
He wants his children. Like, forget your wife. You want your children?
That's what Betty Ann said. Like, my kids can't live in a rat infested house. So she takes the kids and takes them. She's a woman ahead of her time, okay? She drops them off at Dan's doorstep and was like, "You want to be Mr. Bachelor, good time? Deal with the kids. And I'm going to deal with I know. I'm going to deal with the exterminator and I'm going to get this shit set." And I will tell you, all during all this, Betty Ann is losing her shit. She is losing her mind. The whole life that she had thought was gonna be hers, she is seeing slowly being taken away from her and given to during her 20s, she was slaving away, cooking this man dinner, typing up his notes. Now this new young chickie's coming in and is gonna reap all the rewards of this. and it's driving her nuts.
Yeah, I mean, it would drive me nuts too.
Yeah, Dan comes home, the kids are just there. Katie, he doesn't give them back.
He keeps them?
He keeps them.
Oh, I didn't see that coming.
I didn't either. I didn't either. And Betty Ann is kind of losing her mind, so she wants to see them, but also, we didn't have all the mental health things that we have now. We just did what we knew at the time. When she does see
Yeah.
the kids, she's driving them crazy with who was there, what were you guys doing? Your dad's a douchebag, Linda's a whore. Like it's bad. It's bad. Eventually, Dan confesses to Linda, "You were right the whole time. I'm with Linda and I'm in love with her." One day, Betty Ann calls the house to talk to the kids, and the answering machine is fucking Linda.
Oh my gosh. You know what? I dislike Linda just as much as I dislike Dan.
It did seem like she was enjoying just kind of twisting that in there. She left a message on the voicemail like, "You've reached the Brodericks. We can't come to the phone right now. Leave a message." Betty Ann fucking snaps and she won't stop leaving voicemails. And these voicemails are bad, Katie. They're bad. They are, I'm just going to paraphrase here, like, "Dan, you're a fucking dickhead, and Linda's a whore. She shouldn't be spreading her legs." Well, I mean, one after another.
A good Catholic lady talking.
Well, that's what Dan said. You can't talk like
No.
that.
Oh
So, you
my.
know what? Yeah, Dan sends her a legal, like, cease and desist that said, "I'm not the money that I send you every month," which Katie, he was sending her like 10 grand a month just to like maintain her lifestyle. I would have shut the fuck up. Okay. I would
Same.
have shut the fuck up. But she was used to more than that. So he wrote her a legal letter that said, "Every time you leave a voicemail, I'm going to deduct $100 per cuss word from the money I send you. Per cuss word. If you come to my house uninvited, that's $500 out. If you step on my doorstep, that's $1,000 out." It was getting to the point though, because Betty was like, "Fuck you," that he would send her a bill at the end of the month.
Like he was charged.
Like, "You've reached your 10 grand and you're a negative 1,300 for the next month."
That's not even funny. Because if it was me, the voicemails would have been only cuss words.
Fuck, 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 fuck you, fuck. Listen, and then she like had a small group of friends that were trying to support her. Kitty, they could see the unraveling. The only thing she was talking about was how much she hates Dan and Linda.
Oh
And
my. Oh.
God, I hate him too. It's not fair. It doesn't feel fair, but she could not move on. Sometimes when she would go to court, I forgot about this part. She'd go to court and the judge was sick of it too. Cause like, when I guess when you're super fucking rich, the divorce takes 5 years. So they're trying to
Yeah.
get this divorce. And then when they would go to divorce, it would just be all the ways how Betty Ann is harassing Dan and Linda. And the judge had told her, "If we come to court and it's the same bullshit again, I'm throwing you in jail." They threw her in
Oh,
jail twice.
are you serious?
I'm serious. This is how obsessed this woman was. Linda was getting ready. That now Dan and Linda are getting married. Okay. And when Betty Ann and Dan got married, she had wanted him to wear like a tuxedo suit and coat thing.
Hmm.
And he wouldn't do it. He said that he didn't want to wear rented clothes. So he just wore like a suit and a tie. He looked fine, but these are rich folks. So they have their own way of thinking about stuff. When Betty Ann heard about Dan and Linda's wedding, she was asking her daughter, "What's he gonna wear?" And it was the clothes that she wanted him to wear to their wedding.
Of
They were
course it was.
I swear they were just doing shit to keep her off balance.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like.
She was started keeping a journal and the journal entries are out there, but it was basically like, "Dear diary, I hate these motherfuckers. This is what they're doing to me. This is what I did for them." Blah blah blah. Well, so keep in mind she has this journal. One day Betty Ann does have her sons because the girls are getting older now. They were like teenagers, 18, 19. So she has the sons and she takes them back to the house. And when she does, only the housekeeper's there and she's busy. So Betty
Okay.
Ann goes into the house and steals their guest list for the wedding. Takes the whole list.
You go, Betty Ann.
But in retaliation, while
Mm.
Betty Betty Ann is at work, Linda calls her job to make sure she's at work, and she is. So Linda, Miss 28-year-old Hot Pants, goes over to Betty Ann's house, and the door's unlocked for the housekeeper, goes into the house and steals her journal.
Gotta use some sense here if we're gonna play dirty.
So imagine Linda reading this journal and it's like, "Dear diary, I want to kill this bitch." Like that kind of stuff is in there because she thinks she's just burying it, her soul in private.
Yeah.
A few days later, the journal turns up back on her fucking steps. So it's
Oh,
like they read it and returned it.
that would be awkward.
Yeah. Let me just check where I'm at here. Oh, Dan had also cut off her credit cards, was like spreading rumors throughout town. In court, upon questioning, like on the stand, he would be asked, like, how were those years when you were in college after medical school and you were in law school? And he's like, things were tight, but it was fine. Doesn't acknowledge it with Betty Ann sitting right there. The fact that she had done so much and sacrificed so much for him to do that. As you can imagine, she fucking had it. So that's when she made that decision to drive over to their house that day and shoot them both. There were, I believe, 3
She shot
bullets.
them both?
She shot them both.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
She always said that the reason why she got in her car that night with her gun and drove over there was her plan was ultimately to kill herself. She said that she just was so over the way her life had turned out and the way she was being treated. She couldn't believe that somebody that she had loved and sacrificed so much for was being so cold to her. So she was just going to end her own life. But
Mm.
somehow her car drove right over to Dan's house. I do too. And she was just gonna go in there and make them listen, maybe make them watch her take her own life so they could see
Oh.
exactly what they had done. But when she threw open that door, Linda moved and it startled her and the gun just went off. Keep in mind, this is a gun that you have to cock and shoot, cock and shoot.
She was a giant
That
shot.
so no, it's just a little handgun, but you gotta like pull
Okay.
the thing back.
Okay.
I'm not a gun connoisseur, but
Me either.
basically, you can't just be startled 5 times, okay? You had to put some effort into it. So Linda's dead and she shoots Dan in the chest. And according to some reporting, the last thing he said was, "I'm dead." He's a medical doctor. He would know if where he was shot, if he was gonna be dead or not.
Yeah.
And then in the confusion and all her rage, she pulled the phone out of the fucking wall and threw it down the hallway.
They're dead anyways.
They don't need to make any phone calls. So hang on, let me pull up my notes one more time. At trial, prosecutors portrayed Betty as calculating and obsessed, a woman who had threatened violence repeatedly and finally carried it out. Because remember, those journals are pretty telling.
Yeah.
The defense argued something very different, that she had been psychologically shattered after years of emotional abuse and relentless conflict. Her first trial ended in a deadlocked jury. Katie, one of the
Oh.
jurors from that first trial is quoted as saying, in reference to her killing Dan and Linda, quote, "What took her so long?" They
I don't condone murder, but sometimes there's no other way out.
they could understand a very frustrated and broken woman. The second trial in 1991 convicted her of 2 counts of second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 32 years to life in prison. Over the years, her parole hearings revealed something unsettling to officials. Betty often continued to justify her actions rather than fully express remorse. And I gotta tell you, if you watch any, YouTube clips, interviews of Betty Broderick while she's in jail after the murders, she does seem kinda happy.
Does she?
She looks like a weight has been lifted, like, finally. So, parole boards repeatedly denied her release. Remember, Betty had 4 children. They were very divided in her support of her.
Wow.
Her oldest daughter at the time was just like, I mean, remember what she was doing to the kids too, so it's hard to justify all of her actions, but she was definitely bringing the kids' vibes down with all these bad words, calling Glinda the whore right to the kids, calling Dan a dickhead.
Yeah.
I've definitely been guilty. I'm sorry, kids. Sometimes you're hurting and you don't place it right. This is one of the reasons why I, like, relate to Betty so much.
Right. Yeah.
Let's see here. When I was Betty Broderick was, like, popping up on my TikTok feed. That's what inspired me
Oh.
to kinda talk about this, and so I honestly was thinking about sending her just a letter just to see if she would check in with me, but just a couple weeks ago, she did pass.
Oh.
Betty Broderick died in prison at the age of 78 while serving her life sentence in California. Authorities said she died of natural causes after having been transferred to a medical facility for higher level care. Reports later revealed she had suffered serious health complications, including infections and injuries after a fall in prison. Reports say that at the time of her death, all four children were with her, either in person or on FaceTime. So, in the end, when she left this earth, she was with all four of those living children.
I love that.
So, yeah, Betty should you listen, you can say, "I wanna kill them," but you can't actually do it.
Right, right. And if you do it, you should not write it down first.
No,
Would not be
no.
recommended. Thank you for sharing that because that's not how I thought the Broderick story went. I thought they were still together and she like walked in on him cheating.
No, they were apart, but he lied, and oh my god, I don't know, I know you've been married to an angel for several years now, but I don't know if you've ever had that type of betrayal. It fucking hurts so bad to be lied to, and then you're like, "You lied, right? You made me feel crazy for
Right.
no reason." So I felt for Betty, I did, I do.
Yeah, yeah, I can see how how people could to I mean, not condone. I don't want to say condone what she did, but understand,
Yeah.
sympathize with what she did.
I mean, under different if her life had been totally different, she was not a killer. Like, she wasn't a one of these serial killers that kill just for joy.
Right.
Something happened in her brain after and I know what it's like to be a struggling single mom. She wasn't single, but she was supporting the whole family. It's exhausting mentally, physically. It's stressful. Like, are we gonna have enough money for milk and bread?
Mhm.
In the
Oh,
meantime, Dan's wearing fucking fancy coats out of the money she's earning to go look the best at medical school. And that's a true story. Like, he would spend the money on fancy schmancy shit for himself while she's worried about feeding the children. And it's just so frustrating that he did her so dirty at the end when she was really there for him.
honestly, it sounds like Betty Ann, kind of like that juror said, let him get away with this stuff for so much longer than what he deserved. And I'm not even talking like she should have killed him sooner. I'm talking she should have left this man sooner. But
Mhm.
Catholic family, she was raised to stand by her man, but
Yep. And when she would have to go to court, Katie, this man was friends with the judge. He was friends with
who
all the lawyers.
cares?
You're beat. You're fucking beat before you even start.
Yeah, it was a losing battle.
Yeah.
Man,
So we we lost a revengeful queen this month.
we did. We did. That's so sad.
Damn. That's it. That's
Oh,
my vibe. It's not pretty, but it is what I was on my mind this week.
well, thank you for sharing the story about Betty Broderick. That was, yeah, I'm glad I got to learn about her, and I'm glad she got to live to see 2026, and I'm sure
Yes.
she was much happier.
She was happier when they were dead.
I'm sure, like, once she got into jail and she, like, established her, like, new way of life,
Yeah.
she was probably so much like, she probably had so less stress, like,
Yeah. I hope so. I mean, I hope it was worth it to her.
I bet it was, but all right. Well, I think that's all we got this week. Have a
But it
great
is.
rest of your week. Comment, send us a DM, like, share, whatever you want to do. Share our page. If you have stories you want to hear, let us know. But have a great week.
Have a great week. Bye.